Welcome to the bizval podcast. At bizval, we are passionate about empowering entrepreneurs the world over to understand and unlock the value in their business. We work with advisors and entrepreneurs to demystify the value creation process when building a business. At bizval, we know how tough it is to grow and run a business, which is exactly why we've made valuations simple to understand, accurate, and affordable. Our unique blend of tech and touch ensures that you always receive the best service, authentic human engagement, and data-led insights to ensure that you build a business that provides you with freedom and choice. In the bizval podcast, we showcase stories of real entrepreneurs and advisors, sharing lessons and inspiration from their journeys to make your journey just that little bit easier.
Now, every so often you meet somebody with such an infectious energy and a genuine passion for life. Someone who walks into a room and just lifts it. My guest today is exactly that person. He spent 26 years in banking and reached the very top of it. And then he walked away to build two organizations that have literally changed thousands of lives. He's the founder of the SA Ubuntu Foundation, the managing director of the Amy Foundation, and a public speaker who's shared stages with some remarkable people. He's also a best-selling author. Well, I don't know if he's a best-selling, but he's the author of a book, but I could genuinely not put it down. The book Can Do, Making the Impossible Possible. Kevin Chaplin, welcome to the show.
Oh, warm thank you, Graham. It's so good to be with you. And hello to everybody.
Fantastic. Well, I want to be upfront with our listeners. I read your book cover to cover, and it really moved me. So today's a little bit selfish in a sense because I get to ask you maybe some of the questions that the book left me with, and we'll touch on that at the end. People want to get a copy of your book, how they can access that. But let's start a little bit about your backstory, Kevin. What shaped your life so far? It's not a straight line. If you can give our listeners the quick version, where do you come from, and how does a boy with humble beginnings end up running two foundations, not just foundations, but really impactful and values-driven foundations? Give us a little bit about your background.
Thanks, Graham. I think it really starts with a family. So if I think back, my father was a very insecure, emotionally illiterate person. He had a very high IQ, but no emotional, what do you call it? The emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
But my mother was a very strong woman, and she realized early on that she needed to surround me with other good male role models and good female role models. So firstly, it started with my grandparents, and I think grandparents play a very important role. And I spent a lot of time with her father, which molded me as well, and her brothers and her sisters. And then, strangely enough, even though my father was like that, his brothers were the opposite. And so I also spent a lot of time with her brothers. And that really definitely channeled who I became. And for the rest of my life, I've always believed that role models and mentors are very important. So for me, it started right back then. But then also, whilst they were not church-going once they had children, they were heavily involved in their church before they had kids. And then I don't know why, but maybe children just take up all their time. But they did take us to Sunday school every Sunday. So they would drop us off at Sunday school. And I think that definitely from an early age, where I had God in my life, and I was able to learn how to pray and just look to God as my anchor and my focus going forward. So I think that definitely is the two areas which I believe started me off on my journey into life, and which became my philosophy, that I just wanted to make a difference, for God to use me, for me to be his hands and feet. Now, it wasn't always like that. I mean, I was a normal teenager. We were going to parties, drinking too much, getting ill the next day. I mean,
I still remember KZN, so I mean, that was probably de facto.
Absolutely. I still remember going to the bank on a Saturday morning with a hangover, having to work many, many times, having a thick in my throat, but having to work. But my work ethic was very strong, you don't just stay off work. And I think that sort of definitely God was with me through those years, even though I might have not been an evangelical Christian at the time. It was always there, and enjoying going to church. But as I grew older, then God became more and more a force in my life to really be one of his disciples on earth. So there you go.
Fantastic. So Kevin, I mean, a lot of your backstory, I mean, and I'm going to encourage listeners to go out and get a copy of your book. And just for anyone
Please.
listening in, I think all the proceeds from that go towards the Amy Foundation and to Ubuntu Foundation. So it is for a genuine good cause. We'll touch on that just now. But just give us the quick rundown in terms of your CV, so to speak. So how did you get into banking? How did a boy from KZN end up in Joburg and then Cape Town? Just tell us a little bit about that.
So interestingly, once I got to grade 12, or we used to call it matric then, I wanted to go to hotel school. I wanted to be in the hotel industry. One of the guys in our school, his father was in that. But then I got a July call up. All of us white males at that time had to go to the Defence Force, and I was given the Navy. But it was July. So what am I going to do for 6 months? So I joined the bank and ended up really enjoying it. And then whilst you're away for 2 years, they pay you a small salary. In those days, it was 48 Rand a month. And my salary at the time when I joined was 384 Rand per month.
Sure.
That's what I earned. And that I was able to pay rent to my parents. I was able to pay off a car. I had a car loan. I could pay petrol. I could still go out and enjoy drinks and whatever. And I had a small insurance policy, all for 384 Rand a month. So loved the Navy, trained to be electronic warfare, which was Morse code. But what I decided to do was to study the banking exams during that time. And I think that gave an indication to the bank that, okay, he's serious about a career. So, and then I came out and went back to the bank and continued studying. And then I applied to do a Bachelor of Commerce. My parents couldn't afford to send me to university. So I applied for a bursary from the bank. And the first year I was declined. It was the first year that they'd ever offered banking staff a bursary. And so I was very disappointed. Damn it, that's not, okay. And then I said, I'm not applying the next year. But luckily, my manager saw some potential in me and he said, no, you must apply again. The people who were selected the first year were people who'd been in the bank 10 years longer than me. So I got it the second year, and then I studied through UNISA, a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting and Business Economics, Finance, and finished all my bank degree qualifications. They were diplomas. And then really just worked hard. I built a career, and I did everything from the most junior job right through. And then I got a lucky break, and I was offered the National Industrial Relations Manager for FNB for the group, and moving to Joburg. So I took that, and people said, oh, you're going to hate Joburg, but I just believe wherever you go, make the most of it, make it work. And we spent 10 lovely years in Johannesburg. It was the most rewarding time of my career. I then asked not to go back to credit. I was enjoying industrial relations, so they gave me a stint in human resources. And then I got a really good break as the HR Finance and Admin Director in Johannesburg for the business sector nationally, and really just grew so much in that time. I had a boss who was such an inspiring Christian who made me bolder for God and for Christ, to just, believe in yourself and really want to shine for God. And the year 2000, RMB bought FNB, and we became First Rand. And then I had to retrench quite a lot of people. And I thought, okay, time to get out of HR. I did it, but now I was very blessed to become the Sales and Service Director in Cape Town. They actually offered me Durban, and I said, no, I've moved on now. I now want to go to Cape Town. And so I came in 2000 to Cape Town as Sales and Service Director. Loved every minute of it. It was really one of the best times, because the RMB influence had really enabled the sales and service directors to run the business. They had retired and retrenched all the general managers of the provinces, and this new position of sales and service director. Because if you think in banking, how are you going to make your profit? Through sales and through service.
Yeah.
And we were allowed to run the business. And it was so entrepreneurial.
Mm.
And then I became the provincial manager for Western Cape. And then I thought, okay, I've loved it. I'm 41. What does God want me to do next? And so I really prayed hard, Graham, in terms of Jeremiah 29. I have a plan for you, a plan to prosper, not to harm you. And we can touch on it if you want later, but the opportunities took quite different turns. And I thought that's the one, and then it wasn't. And so eventually I decided to start the South African Ubuntu Foundation. And if you want to, we can discuss how I went about that and what led to that. But I think
we'll dive into that a bit later. But I think what's quite clear is that, you say your life wasn't linear, but it was, you were constantly open to opportunities. You were open to listening where that sort of voice took you, if you want to call it that, and you didn't have this grand plan of your own that you were like, oh, cool, I'm going to be the CEO of the biggest organization in the world. You were actually humbled yourself and looked to, I guess, go where you were needed as opposed to go where you wanted to be. And I think that kind of channels through your life, and it comes through in the book, and we'll touch on that in a second. But I just want to draw on the book for one last second, and then we're going to get into a little bit about your story. It took you, 7 years to write the book, and I guess it's a memoir of your sort of personal and corporate challenge and highlights. And I don't want to obviously ruin that, and I do want to maybe just put enough out in this podcast that it encourages people to want to go and buy the book, because as I said earlier, it really is to a good cause. But why did you write it? When you wrote the book, why did you write it, and who did you write it for?
So by that time, I was being invited to speak at lots of events, a motivational speaker. Even in the bank, I was asked to do speaking for corporates and conferences. And every now and again, even a waiter would come and say, thank you, I've learned so much from you. Where can I read more? Where is there a book that you've written? And I thought, okay, maybe it would be good to write a book one day, because why should we die one day having taken all of our experiences and challenges and lessons to the grave when we should be sharing it with others? So I got to the point where I'd love to be able to share with others, and I thought, okay, I'm so busy, how am I going to do this? And then at one of my Ubuntu business breakfasts, a lady, Toby, came up to me and she said, you've got to write a book. And I'm a ghostwriter. I'll help you put it into a book format. So I said, wonderful, let's do it. So we started. She would sit with me and I would share, and then she'd write it up for me and send it to me. I'd say, no, I don't talk like that. That's not what I meant. No. And there was a lot of back and forth. But because I was so busy, she would do something within a few days, and it would take me 6 weeks to get to that and check.
So that's why it took 7 years.
So that's why it took 7 years. And then we got to the point where we were almost ready. And I had, by then I was running the Ubuntu Foundation and the Amy Foundation. And our landlord, who had given me free rental, free rates and taxes, everything for my offices for the foundation, the head of premises walked in and said, I'm so sorry to do this, but you have to move out in a month's time. I said, no ways, that's impossible. Themba, how can you tell me now? And we can touch on that, because it was quite a challenging time, and how did I overcome that? But then I phoned Toby and I said, Toby, we've got to put this on hold. I now have to save the foundation. I've got a month to find premises. So that it took me just under 2 years to, we can talk about what happened, where I found premises, how I built a new youth skills center with 8.6 million, but that's what took me about 18 months to 2 years. So once we moved into our new premises, I said, let's get going again. So we got
going. Then you could finish the book.
So we finished it, but guess what happened next? I had some industrial action at Amy Foundation. We had one troublemaker who was very much politically motivated, and he wanted to take over this beautiful new building that we'd spent 8.6 million.
Sure.
And So this all erupted, which was a shock. It was like unbelievable trauma. So I phoned her and said, sorry, put it all on hold. I've now got to sort this out. But luckily, Graham, that only took 4 months to sort out. And then we could continue.
But based on the way you're going, we might need 2.5 hours for this podcast, let alone
okay,
45 minutes.
So there you go. So then very quickly, then we got going again. We finished and we published it. But then COVID came and that was on hold. So I'd be delighted for people to read it because really I've written it in an easy style. It's every page has got a lesson, a learning, and insight so that every reader can take something away. So my purpose was really to leave a leadership, business, and motivational book and guide that everybody could take and learn something from.
Yeah, and I think those stories, it's a series of stories. It's very relatable. You can read it cover to cover, or you can pick a section. And so I really encourage anybody listening is go to saubuntu.org.za, and you can find a link to the book there. It really is worth your time if you're looking for something to read on a flight or on a weekend or whatever. And we'll leave that link in the comments as well. So, Kevin, I want to just talk a little bit about, you've touched on that already, but what really strikes me about you and also some of the lessons in the book, you've faced real hardship and genuinely difficult circumstances, from some of your upbringing stories through to, as I say, losing the building at SA Ubuntu and various things. But there's not a shred of self-pity or wallowing in the past. You've taken that and you've turned that into impact, into healing and restoration, and that's something that comes through, in a lot of the work you've done. So maybe just talk to me about, one moment which has probably been the most challenging thing for you in the last 20 years, and how have you turned that around into a positive?
So I think there's actually three, but the one is I'll touch on now. The other two, the one is about the building, and the third one is the industrial action of. I think those are three defining moments in my life that really brought out the resilience and the perseverance. So the first was because my father was so emotionally immature, he was really cruel to me. He made no bones about it that he hated me because he was obsessed with my mother, his wife, and he wanted her to himself. And so I was taking away the 100% of his love that he wanted. And he was really cruel. I mean, he would line me up and beat me every day. But luckily, as I said earlier, my mother was very wise. So she ensured I spent so much time with my grandfather, my uncles, my aunts. And we had good neighbors. And so one of my aunts whispered to me one day, listen, you're not the problem. He's the problem. Don't stress about that. But it taught me that I'm not the problem. He's the problem. But more than that, never blame your past on your present. Don't keep that chip on your shoulder. Move forward. And if it's to be, it's up to me. I think that's what it taught me. If it's to be, it's up to me. I must go out there and make it happen. I can't rely on anybody else. So I think those were really hard times as a young guy, but I had the support and it channeled my mentality in terms of be positive, pick yourself up, go forward, and just make it happen. So I think, and then having God in my life also made a big difference, in terms of where you can talk to God. It's not, you can pray directly, you can speak to God, and it developed me quite nicely, I think.
Fantastic, and I think you talk about it in the book, and even though you had those struggles with your dad growing up, I mean, much later in life, I guess you made peace and forgave him and had a period of, without giving away the whole story, had a period of probably too short where you managed to reconcile and the two of you kind of found each other again. I think that's just such a beautiful story, and actually brought tears to my eyes when I read that part of the book. But I think it also applies in business as well. You have hardships and you can bear a grudge and you can what have you, but or else you can say, hey, you know what, how do I learn from this and how do I get better? How do I become better to my staff? How do I create more impact? How do I change things? So those lessons are universal. They're not just to business and not just to life, but And I think you've demonstrated that, Kevin.
100%, Graham, because what it made me also realize, and I think it sort of came through in all my roles as a leader, as a manager. It taught me to understand other people. I had to eventually understand why he was like that.
Yeah.
And then I actually felt sorry for him. He was losing out on happiness because he was always unhappy. So it taught me. Often my staff say, "Gee, you've got friends with some of the strangest people." I say, "Because I understand them. To you, they're strange, but I understand what makes them tick." And I think so you go through things in life which actually can make you stronger and better, and which enabled me to understand other. Yeah, so that was definitely, and I think for me, one of the nicest things was I had a 90-year-old lady who contacted me after she read about that, and she said, "I want to thank you for writing about your father, because I never came to terms of how cruel my mother was. Only now, by reading your story, I've come to accept and realize that I wasn't the problem." And then I thought, wow, if that's the only reason I wrote the book for, that it could help her, I'm happy.
That's such a beautiful story, and I'm glad that you can share that, and hopefully people listening in today can also inspire them to go and seek forgiveness and what's the word, grace that they can pour out on others. So I want to move on a little, and we talk about values. Obviously, at bizval, we obsessed with the difference between price and worth, but I think value is a word that talks about what something is worth, but it also talks to values. So I think it's true of people and business. So I want to maybe touch on that, Kevin. For you, what are the sort of 2 or 3 non-negotiables that you live by, and the lines that you don't cross, whatever the deal is on the table, whether it's a work opportunity, whether it's something to grow the foundation? What are the 2 or 3 things that are absolutely core to you?
I think, first of all, it's honesty. I've never liked to surround myself with people who are false. I rather take myself out of a situation if I feel the person's not genuine. So I think, first of all, it's being genuine, being honest, being transparent. That's very, very important. So I've learned to really try and assess a person or situation and only associate myself with genuine, honest people. I think that's one of the most important non-negotiables: honesty, transparency. And then I think the other one is respect. Respect for one another. I will respect your religion, your belief, your culture, your language, and I expect the same. And I think that's what's missing in the world at the moment. Even in business, in politics, and everything, people don't respect one another. They try and force their view on someone. So I've tried to, over the years, be a listener. If it's a business deal, it's about listening to the client. What is it you actually want? Not me forcing, this is what you need, this is the product. Let me listen, let me understand the client. That was, for me, an important thing in banking. I wanted us to be the best in relationship banking. We have a relationship. So another non-negotiable is just being able to build a relationship. It's got to be a win-win. That's very important. I don't want to, for instance, in the nonprofit world, just take donations. I want to be able to give back. There's got to be something that we both benefit from. It's got to come through early on in the discussion, in the negotiation. And again, the respect. I respect you, you respect me. And if I find someone's forceful, and I can pick up very quickly if it's just about their own agenda, you can see they just in there this is what they want. They're going to win benefit. I try and pick that up quickly, and then I don't want to enter into business or partnership or engagement with those sort of people.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in obviously we deal with a lot of businesses that are being bought or sold, and at the end of the day, it's the number or the value of the deal is one thing, but actually 90% of deals are about trust, it's about people, it's about relationships. What happens after the deal's done? If you're still working for the new acquirer, what does that look like? So, unless you construct things in a win-win basis, whether it's in your normal job, it's day to day, or whether it's doing a deal long term, yeah, things don't work out for the best.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the whole sort of philosophies that underpins the idea of Ubuntu and the Ubuntu Foundation. So, I guess loosely, and you can probably translate it better than I can, the whole philosophy of Ubuntu is, you are, or maybe you want to explain that for our listeners, but it's roughly, I am because we are, the belief that together you're stronger than alone. So maybe let's just talk a little bit about that and how that kind of feeds into the Ubuntu Foundation and what the Ubuntu Foundation is about.
Perfect. So it probably also touches on the previous question, but I think at the end of the day, what values are important. We've got to have like-minded values. We've got to, I always say, only do business or employ staff or work with someone who has the same values as you. We must be like-minded values. That's very, very important. That's for me, the essence of Ubuntu. What are the values that we have? Do we care about others? Are we in it for the money? Are we just in it for ourselves? Are we prepared to do whatever it takes to get that next promotion, to stand out with the boss, so the boss picks us and we actually do damage to our colleagues? So Ubuntu, yes, is I am because we are. In class, you say umtu and gumtu and gabantu. I love that. It's such a rich saying, umtu and gumtu and gabantu. I am because we are. We are people through other people. And the one I love the most is I am human because I belong to the human community. And I treat and I respect and I value others accordingly. You see, that's the trick. So often people just say, oh, Ubuntu is I am because we are. But there's more to it. We respect and we value and we trust others accordingly. We treat them as we'd like to be treated. And that's why I love the one which you don't often hear. I am human because I belong to the human community. So Ubuntu goes deep. It's about trusting others. I mean, I want people working for me that I can trust. So ethics and integrity is number one in trying to ensure we keep the right people. Respecting, as I spoke earlier, respect each other's culture, color, religion, language. Don't force someone in terms of your views. Building relationships is what Ubuntu is all about. We build strong, credible relationships, strong, credible organizations that are transparent, that are credible. You in it, I mean, Raymond Ackerman for me was the best example. From when he bought his first 2 stores at Pick and Pay, he didn't wait 5 years till he made millions to give back. From month 1 of making some profit, a little bit went back to the community. And that's what he built the values of Pick and Pay on. So I think, also respecting one another's time. When you practice Ubuntu, you are respecting other people's time. So if you've set a meeting for a certain time, you be there in time. You don't keep other people waiting. You don't respect their time then. Being reliable. Very important. If you say you're going to do something, stick to it. We all have problems. We said we're going to do this, but then have you gone back to the client and said, I know I promised you an answer by 10 o'clock this morning. I'm not there yet. Can you give me another day?
Sure. Yeah.
That's about reliability, or not making. I learned early on as a banker, don't make promises you cannot keep. So those are the values of Ubuntu that I believe everybody in the world should be practicing. And as the South African Ubuntu Foundation, we created 13 values and principles that we want everybody in the world to live by. So I'd also encourage people to go onto our website and sign that pledge. It's got nothing to do with money. I pledge to live my life by the following values and principles.
I love that. So, Kevin, I mean, I was going to talk a little bit about your career and what you learned in the banking world, but I think I'm going to skip over that. I really want to dive into the Amy Foundation and the SA Ubuntu Foundation. So, you moved down to Cape Town, you've turned around the sales unit, FNB in the Western Cape, top performing branch for years in a row. Okay. You're at the top of your career at this stage, and you walk away to start the SA Ubuntu Foundation. So that's a bold move. It's a step out in faith. But share with us just a little bit about the founding of the SA Ubuntu Foundation. You've spoken a bit about the vision behind that. And also, I think there's an opportunity here for a call to action for anyone listening in. So how can they support that? So a little bit about the founding. What does it do? And how does anyone who's listening to this show or this podcast, how can they get involved?
I would like to just touch on how did we turn around in 4 years, just very quickly.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, it was surrounding myself with the right people. So I made sure when I appointed all my managers, whether they were relationship managers, credit managers, branch managers, service admin managers, I appointed people who in some cases were better than me. Because so many people appoint people who, when you say jump, they say how high. No, I think that people that really could help us shine as a team. So it was surrounding myself with the right people and then creating a culture of openness, engagement, communication, encouragement, but also excellence. That everything we did was about achieving excellence, making a difference for the customers, the staff. It was about getting everybody to buy into making a difference, and every day this excellence. And then obviously there's a whole chapter on how we turned it around, and there's lots and lots of pointers. So I'd love the readers to read that as well, because it's more than I'm saying, but these are some of the things that I think are important in any business, that hopefully anybody listening can apply that. So then, after 26 years of loving banking, at the age of 41, I decided, okay, what am I going to go and do? And then I was offered a job by the Premier of the province to go and run Cape Nature. And it was a huge opportunity. And I thought, yes, that's God's plan for me. I'm going to go and turn this business around. They were making a lot. But it was not to be, because at the last minute, one of his ministers called me and said, I know the Premier's promised you this job, but we've got to withdraw it because you're a white male. And then I was so upset. That's not fair. It's racism in reverse. And then I thought, okay, I understand it. We can't keep promoting white males like we have been.
Yeah.
The next thing, the head of RMB Private Bank resigned. And I thought, that's why I didn't get that job. I'm going to go and run RMB Private Bank for the Western Cape and turn that around. Phoned up and they again said, sorry, sir, you're a white male. The board took a decision. No. And then I was upset. But then again, I thought, no, all the senior positions were white males. So I thought, no, I'm going to now start something myself. And I didn't know what. And then I started praying a lot about it. And I realized that God had given me a talent to bring people of different color, culture, religion, language together. I was normally the only Christian at a Jewish wedding or a Jewish bar mitzvah or a Muslim 70th birthday party. Or was often being invited to Black Africans' homes and having dinner. And there were so many things happening. And then a defining moment was, I said to my secretary, I said, whenever I invite clients to an FNB event, it's always at a top hotel, so it's quite splashy. Let's do one in Khayelitsha. So we invited all of our clients, and every white and colored client declined, and it was only Black African clients. And I was shocked. I thought, oh my word, because it's in Khayelitsha. I said, okay, we're going to continue with the event. I had the most amazing evening with 100 Black African business people, and I left there thinking, no, I've got to do something that's going to get all colors, religion, language to embrace one another. So I went to see Archbishop Tutu. I brought all his business to FNB. I said, Arch, you're a fraud. And he chuckled. He said, what do you mean? I said, Arch, you're telling the world we're a rainbow nation, but we're far from it. I'm going to events where, whether it's a corporate or... So I said, I want to do this. So I spent a year planning it, Graham. I do believe people mustn't just jump ship. They must really plan and focus and then move on. So once I was really planning the whole business plan, which was a tough time of my life because, whenever I did the strategy for the next year, I had all my managers, we'd go through a strategy session. Now I had to do all this all on my own while I'm still the leader of the bank. And once I was ready, I gave my boss 3 months notice. We looked at the restructure, and then I started the Ubuntu Foundation, really to bring people of all business people of different color, culture, religion, language together, embrace one another. So it's activities and interventions that create a climate and an atmosphere for business people to engage with a bigger focus of being part of the growth in the country, the solutions that this country needs, so we can all become economically active and build a country that's growing and prospering.
That's fantastic. And Kevin, practically, how can people get involved with the Ubuntu Foundation? You've got your breakfasts, you've got the annual gala dinners and what have you. What would be the first place to start? Check out the website, check out the book. What would you recommend?
So we must remember it's two different organizations.
Yeah,
so
we'll get to the
when
Amy Foundation now. Sorry, I'm even confusing the two.
so the gala dinner is the Amy Foundation.
Correct. Yeah.
The Ubuntu Foundation, people should go to our website, as you mentioned, saubuntu.org.za, register to come to our breakfasts. Now, granted, we do 10 breakfasts a year in Cape Town. It used to be 12, but it's now, obviously, we've got to be realistic with how many hands you've got. So it's 10 a year here. We've been doing 2 a year in Joburg. We want to expand that to 4, then get to Durban and possibly Gqeberha. So they must go on there, sign up for the next breakfast. We have powerful speakers and topics. It's 100 to 120 business people at every breakfast, and they will meet different people. They'll hear a good topic and go forward. Then we do quarterly dinners for CEOs, chairperson, directors. How can you be part of the solution to the country? We did quarterly events for entrepreneurs, but funding wasn't easy, so we paused it. We're looking at that next year. So go to the website, see which speaker you want to see. But another wonderful opportunity, Graham, is for those who cannot attend breakfast, or even in Cape Town who can't attend every breakfast, please sign up as an Ubuntu member. And I'm glad that I was able to welcome you as an Ubuntu member, Graham, because as an Ubuntu member, for only 250 Rand a month, you get access to all the recordings of the speakers. Every month, people are asking me, I missed the breakfast. I want to hear that speaker, or I was there, but I want to watch again. I can only allow Ubuntu members to access all those past years and years of recordings, which are really powerful, that you can watch yourself, with your family, with your staff. I always say, even show your staff some of these. So then you also get 6 free breakfasts a year. If you can't attend, we give it to entrepreneurs. We give your seat to an entrepreneur, and there's prizes and draws and all sorts of benefits like short travel discounts. So yeah, please sign up, become an Ubuntu member, come to the breakfast, sign up the pledge. So that's how you can get involved with the Ubuntu Foundation.
Fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit about the Amy Foundation. Okay, now some of our listeners might know what the Amy Foundation is about, and it kind of runs. You're involved with both. The two run together. They support each other. But tell us a little bit about the Amy Foundation. It's got a fascinating origin story, actually quite a heartbreaking origin story. Maybe just tell our listeners who Amy Biehl was and how you came to lead this organization. And maybe some of the impact that this foundation has made over the last sort of 15, 20 years, Kevin.
Thank you, Graham. I'm really happy to be able to do this, because I do believe everybody in the world should know the story of Amy Biehl, which is one of the most powerful stories of Ubuntu, actually. After Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, the Amy Biehl story is a powerful part of our history. So if I can just start there, Amy Biehl graduated from Stanford University. She went to work at the White House with Bill Clinton, and in the early 1990s, all she saw on television was about Nelson Mandela, and she wanted to come and help South Africa. So Bill Clinton spoke to Nelson Mandela, and she came on a 1-year scholarship, Stanford scholarship. And 2 days, so she spent time at UWC with the ANC members, and she helped write the Constitution. Remember, we had our first free and fair elections in 94.
Yeah.
She came in 1992 for a year, in August 92, at the age of 25. Helped write the Constitution, and then in August 93, she was starting to educate people to vote in April. And 2 days before she was due to go home on a 1-year scholarship, there was a peaceful political rally happening in the township of Guguletu. The police broke up the rally. There was still a lot of tension in South Africa. Chris Hani had been murdered. There was the St. James massacre. So when the police came and broke up the mob and was beating them, sorry, not the mob, when they broke up the rally, a mob formed.
Yeah.
This mob is walking down the street. Two of Amy's black friends from UWC had phoned and said their taxi left them. Please, can she drop them at home? She never saw color. So sure, not knowing this was happening. And when the mob saw her, they went crazy. And that's how she died.
Sure.
4 boys went to jail for her death. They were sentenced to 20 years. 1997 was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is a powerful part of our history, where Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu formed this TRC to bring the victim and the offender together, for people to understand what happened to my son. He disappeared. Please, as a policeman, tell me what happened to my son in jail? Why did he die? All these things. And part of it was they asked Amy's parents to come and meet the 4 boys.
Sure.
So when they came, despite a lot of opposition in America saying, how dare you go to that country that killed your daughter? They came. They met the boys. And then they said, my goodness, these are 4 young 18-year-olds that apartheid robbed of their youth. We forgive them.
Sure.
We asked the government for amnesty and got them released in 1998 after 5 years in jail. 2 of those 4 boys were so humbled by this act of forgiveness, Graham, that they actually said, we want to meet the parents again. We want to dedicate our lives to the youth. And that's how the Amy Biehl Foundation started in 1998. Fast forward, Amy's parents and the 2 boys ran the foundation. But in the early 2000s, Amy's father died with no medical insurance.
Sure.
He left Amy's mother penniless. He was in hospital for a long time. So she came to close the Amy Biehl Foundation. But God had a bigger plan. So long story short, I met the mother. I said, please don't close it, Mrs. Biehl. She said, I have to. There's no money. She wanted me to, I said, okay, I'll take it over. She wanted me to put it under the Ubuntu Foundation. And I said, no, the South African Ubuntu Foundation is for business people. Totally different focus. Amy Biehl Foundation is the youth. So that's why I've kept it separate, but everything we do in the Ubuntu Foundation supports Amy Foundation. I changed the name to Amy Foundation from Amy about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was very important that we became a South African organization, but still we have formerly Amy Biehl Foundation, and we talk about the legacy of Amy and Amy Biehl and the parents, forgiveness. So it's a powerful story of forgiveness, reconciliation, and restorative justice. And I'm proud to also share that it shows you the good that can come from a tragedy, the good that can come from something bad. Because today we have 7 centers, we have 2,000 youngsters. Now, if I think back when I took over, there were 10 staff and 100 kids.
Sure.
And a lot of what I've shared with you that we did in banking and is everything that I took over to be able to build it with a good team. And I've got an amazing team of teachers, facilitators, coordinators, support staff that are working with these 2,000 youngsters. 6 centers are in the townships, and 1 is at our headquarters, that building I told you we built. And it's just a phenomenal story of these 2 guys who went to jail, who work for us still, are wonderful young men now. And the impact that we're making with the youngsters just inspires me every day that this is the solution this country needs.
You know, it's absolutely incredible the amount of, let's call it, grassroots youth skills development. So it's empowerment through education, real tangible skills development. And as you say, it was out of tragedy that this arose. And it's giving back. And you know, whether it's in South Africa and or other parts of the world, there's so many lessons to learn from that. Giving people hope and giving them opportunity and actually rolling up your sleeves. And I think that story of restitution and forgiveness is just remarkable. You know, and people who go through the foundation, you are living through those values day in and day out as well. So you're not just giving them skills, but you're giving them a value set that they can take into life and hopefully multiply as they go out into the world, so to speak.
Absolutely. And if you see the youngsters that we are producing, it warms my heart. Do you know that since we built the Youth Skills Center, when we were given notice that we had to vacate those premises, everybody said to me, Kevin, give it up.
Yeah.
Close the Amy Foundation down. You'll never find other premises with no rent. Just close it down. Thank goodness I didn't listen to those naysayers. And I always say, don't listen to just believe in yourself, find the solution, overcome it. That's why it can do make the impossible possible. And thank goodness we did. And Now, from that youth skills center, just in the last few years, we placed 2,551 students in employment, and we started 306 new businesses. And you know, Graham, those students are excelling in the marketplace. I'm so proud of them. The team are so committed and passionate about what they do with these students. So we recruit, we train, and then we place in employment. And employers tell me, Kevin, I don't want to recruit from anywhere else. I only want Amy students working for me. And we've got a lot of placement partners that we've built strong relationships with, so that when the students graduate, we take them for the interviews, we get them placed, we track them.
That's fantastic. And anybody wanting to get involved, obviously, can go and check out the foundation online, reach out to you, I'm assuming directly. And,
Absolutely.
it's such a
Amy
wonderful
Funda-
opportunity to make a difference.
Amy Foundation is amyfoundation.co.za. Ubuntu is .org.za, but Amy Foundation, AMY for Amy. And yeah, they can reach out to me direct, Kevin at amyfoundation.co.za. They can, with pleasure, email me. They can contact me. I'm happy to give my WhatsApp number that they can WhatsApp me. And I'm always willing to see where I can help and be a guide.
Kevin, there's just so much to get through in this chat. As I say, we could go on for days. I want to touch on the concept of mentors and then entrepreneurship as a vehicle for change. So we'll spend a few minutes on each of them. And I think you've spoken a lot about some of the mentors you've had in your life, from Archbishop Desmond Tutu through to Raymond Ackerman, and you've really been in the orbit of some extraordinary people. Okay. So maybe just share a little bit about one or two of the mentors who've really helped you and shaped you along the way. And also, if you can just address the question, a lot of people think a mentor is like a nice to have, it's somebody that I can say, oh, you know what, I used to know so-and-so. It's far deeper than that. Just share with our audience, maybe one or two of those mentorship relationships, what they've meant for you, and why you think every single business leader or person should have a mentor in their life.
It's definitely shaped me from the early banking days right to where I am now, because I do believe we all need to learn from others. The best education, yes, we must study, we must read, but we must learn from others. So from early banking days, I would see which manager I could learn the most from, ask them questions, never be shy to say, how can I do this? How can I do that? So I think it's important that we all look for mentors that we can learn from, that we can trust, and not to be shy to go up to somebody and say, I'd love to learn from you. Would you consider mentoring me? Now, many times people are going to say, I've had to do it. I just don't have the time to be a formal mentor.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to, once a month, once every few months, just spend 10 minutes with you. You can ask me some questions, bounce some ideas. I'll give you some guidance. So I think mentorship is very important at every level of our journey, wherever we are. And it's not about who the person is. It's about what we can learn from that person. I mean, Philip Krawitz of Cape Union March used to sit with me every few months and show me how he runs his stores, which are the ones how he did it. The same with Raymond Ackerman. I learned so much from him. Now, they could have said no to me when I asked, will you be my mentor? But they were humble people who just wanted to give of themselves. So I think every business leader should be looking for people to learn from and for them to teach others, because it's other people need to learn from us, watch us, how do we do things. So I think it's core to business that everybody in the business should be learning from one another. I have brought in official mentors for some of my team because I don't have time to spend growing them. And there's a lot of people out there who are willing to give of their time and their expertise for them to be shadowed, to be mentored. So it's such an important process. Have I answered everything you asked me?
100%, Kevin. And I think just something to touch on there is mentorship on both sides requires people to set their egos aside. I think in today's world, it's so much about ego. How many followers can I get on TikTok and all of that sort of stuff? We celebrate, or society celebrates, the sort of the billionaires and all of those sorts of things. And this is at a far deeper, more humane level than that. It requires a setting aside of an ego. It's around a mindset and a willingness to learn. And it's also about a mindset and a willingness to give back from the mentor side. And something I just want to, I've experienced is often you think you're going to be somebody's mentor. So often how these things flip around, and you end up learning more from the mentee than what you think you're imparting to the, as a mentor themselves. So it's about those authentic
Absolutely.
relationships, I think, that are key. That's the whole essence of, and it's shared experiences, not a one-directional thing often, I think.
Absolutely. And I want to also just share that many times it's just your boss, your immediate boss. I mean, if
Yeah,
I think of the bosses I worked with, they weren't all the greatest, but I learned something from each of them. When I
exactly.
first became the industrial relations manager, everybody said, "Oh, my word, you'll never get on with your boss. He's the most autocratic, authoritative man that you've ever met."
Yeah.
And in the beginning, yes, it was a bit difficult, but one day I said, "Mr. Mole, but I don't agree with that." And he went red in the face and, "What do you mean?" But I helped change him,
Mm.
and we learned a lot together. Then there was one of my bosses who I know he never listened. And I went to Mr. Golding. I said, "Are you listening to me? You're not listening to what I'm saying, Mr. Golding." But it was how I said it, because you
Yeah.
can't go in. I wasn't judging him. I was talking genuinely and saying, "Please listen to me." And and then I had a boss who was just amazing in terms of teaching me how
Mm.
to do things. So many times it's just learn from your boss. So many times I hear people say, "I'm leaving because I can't get on with my boss." Have you tried to change your boss? Have you tried to learn? Have you taken it in? One of my
Mm.
bosses once said, "The one thing I like is I'll give you some criticism, and you won't just walk away. I knock you down, but you pick yourself up and you at least try and listen." Because
Mm.
I think perceptions are damning. So many people say, "Ah, he says this about me. I don't agree. It's bull dust."
Yeah.
Well, if that's a perception, be aware of it and just
Mm.
take it into account in how you behave.
And I guess the point is we can all learn something from everybody else. Okay, there's one thing we can learn from every person or interaction that we have. Um, I want to end on the last section. Obviously, this is something that's very close to our heart at bizval. So we work with a lot of businesses, from small businesses right up to mid-market private businesses. And one of the things we believe about business is building a healthy business community. I also come out of banking, so we've seen the big corporate banking world and we've seen grassroots community work. But when we talk about entrepreneurship, why do we think, or why do you think it's such a powerful vehicle for societal change? And at the heart, I guess, of what Ubuntu Foundation does, bringing business leaders together, Amy Foundation creating the skills and mindset necessary to, create value. Why do you think it's such an important vehicle for change?
If I look at those, apart from the students we placed in employment, we've got an entrepreneurship arm where we take students and we train them to be entrepreneurs and help set up a business and grow it. We started 306 new businesses.
Mm.
Now, you're not only creating income for that one entrepreneur. That one entrepreneur is helping change the dynamics of their family and their community, because now they
Mm.
start employing other people in their community. They bring in income where they can help maybe send one of their brothers, their siblings, their sisters to school, to university, feed them. So that it's like that ripple effect. One entrepreneur starts employing others, starts creating income for the whole community. So
Mm.
to me, it's the real solution. When I grew up, you wanted to join the corporate. Nowadays, it's better there's so many things you can become an entrepreneur in, start your own business.
Mm.
And it definitely changes society. It changes the world in terms of more and more
Mm.
entrepreneurs growing that income base of society.
Mm. Absolutely. I think it's fundamental and it's critical. And so some of your mentors were leaders in that space, whether it's the Cape Union Mart guys or Raymond Ackerman. They were entrepreneurs. They took a step out of their corporate lives and created something. And often it's just that first step of faith and being brave enough to go out there and try something and risk failing. That's critical.
Absolutely.
Kevin.
And you're bringing hope to others. You're now bringing others onto your team. There's just so many benefits to it. You're giving dignity to other people.
Absolutely. Kevin, we're going to wrap up. And before we do, we do a quick rapid fire section. It's just a fun set of 5 or 6 questions. Don't overthink it. First answer that comes to mind. Okay, this is just so our audience can get to know you a little bit deeper. When they read the book, they're going to get all of that. But I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then after that, we're going to wrap up with some closing remarks. But are you ready for the rapid fire?
Yes.
Okay. So, one word that describes your younger self.
Resilient.
Resilient. Okay. Can't or won't. Which one bothers you which one bothers you more when you hear it?
Won't.
Okay. Why? I'm going to ask you why.
Because then a person is being stubborn. Yes, I can't, but you can be encouraged to can. But if a person says, I won't, there's a stubbornness, there's a selfishness there.
Love that. Okay. The best piece of advice you were ever given, and who gave it to you?
My grandfather never say, every day when we saw him, he would, how are you, Grandpa? Never say die, get up and try. That was his mantra. So that's the best advice I can think of. I've been given lots and lots of advice, but that's the one that sticks out.
Fantastic. Okay. Banking or the not-for-profit world? Which is harder?
The non-for-profit world, my wife always says I had more income in the bank for less work, and I work harder in the non-profit world for less income, but the non-profit world is more rewarding. So yes, it's harder. How are you going to bring in that income? How are you going to make sure you have impact and outcomes? Because too many I know this is supposed to be a quick answer, but I think this is, I'd like listeners to listen to. There's so many non-profits out there that, not operating, inefficient, whatever. But when you make it transparent and credible and work harder, it all comes together. So it's very rewarding, the hard work.
Fantastic. I said I was going to ask 6 questions, but I've got a few more. So, a book other than your own that you think every business leader or every leader should read?
Raymond Ackerman's book, The Four Legs of the Table. I keep it here. I can give you lots of books, but this one I learned so much. The values he built Pick and Pay on, how he started. So The Four Legs of the Table by Raymond Ackerman.
Fantastic. Okay. Ubuntu in 3 words.
Together we can.
Together we can. Love that.
It covers all sorts, from teamwork to building each other up. Together we can.
Brilliant. Coffee or a walk when you need to think?
A walk, definitely. Just unwind. I always say you've got to balance your life. We work hard, but you've got to play hard as well. So a walk, without a doubt.
Fantastic.
Can I answer? There's one more you missed. Can I answer it? You can decide if we've spoken too much.
Go for it. Which was that question? the trait you look for when you hire, that one.
It's definitely attitude.
Yeah.
Attitude. I mean, if I see somebody walking in for an interview, they're slouching, they're walking across, or they're sitting in the chair, I'm not going to take them. Attitude is everything. A positive attitude, a can-do attitude, because they will achieve much more than somebody with a degree who's got a bad attitude. So attitude and passion in life, commitment and all of that, but attitude before those.
Fantastic. I've got 2 more questions, and if I've still missed the one, we come back to it. So if your daughters had to describe you in 1 word, what is it?
I would say loving. I try and love them as much as I can and show them to believe in themselves. So maybe if it's 1 word, it's loving.
Awesome. And it's not the soap opera from the 80s. Or maybe it is.
Maybe the word should be caring, because I care deeply about people and obviously care deeply about them, and obviously love follows caring.
I love that. Finish the sentence. The impossible is possible when?
Impossible is possible when you believe in yourself.
Fantastic.
Because you have to believe in yourself to achieve anything. And don't let anybody say you can't do this, you can't do that. And that's the essence of can do, make the impossible possible. Believe in yourself. And then, that's how I would end it. The impossible is possible when you believe in yourself.
Fantastic. Kevin, I mean, this time's absolutely flown by. And I meant it when I said at the start we could probably do 2.5 hours of chatting and listening to the stories, but obviously we won't do that. People can go out and buy the book and support the Amy Foundation. So as we wrap up and finish, what's one message that you'd like to leave with our listeners, whether it's a business owner or an associate or somebody listening to this, that they can take with them and carry with them tomorrow?
Never let anybody say to you, you can't do this, you can't do that, it's impossible. You can achieve anything you want with the right attitude, with the right people around you, walking the right journey, and you will achieve more than achieve what you would like to do.
Fantastic. And I'm going to say it one more time because I really do think it matters. Kevin's book is called Can Do, Making the Impossible Possible. It's available via the saubuntu.org.za website, and the proceeds support the Amy Foundation. So please go out there, check out the book, reach out to Kevin, check out the Ubuntu Foundation. It's a really worthy cause. And I've been to a number of the breakfasts, and it's just a great opportunity to go and network without any pressure. It's not a selling pitch. It's a bunch of like-minded business people coming together wanting to make a difference. So Kevin, once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your generosity. And we really look forward to putting this podcast out there and hopefully having a bigger impact in the world. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Graham. I really appreciate and value it. And thank you to everybody who listens.
Fantastic. Thank you.